friends and family, words cannot explain how excited and humbled I am to stand before you tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you all. Those of you from Weston may know me as a father, husband, businessman, or passionate baseball and soccer coach. Tonight, I will ask you to see me in a new light. Not just as husband to my beautiful wife, Sue, or father to Jennifer and Jared, or stepfather to Brooke, Sammy, and Brandon, and also father to Jason, who is up at college in Pennsylvania and could not be with us tonight. And I cannot forget, proud son to my mom, Leonild. She also told me, make sure you say beautiful for me too. My beautiful mom, Leonild, who just came down from Rhode Island. Thank you, Mom. Many of you may not know that I am one of 6 children from parents who emigrated 51 years ago from the Cape Verde Islands, a impoverished colony from Portugal. With very little money, they came with very little money, very little English, and no real labor skills. My father had a 4th grade education, and my mother had finished the 10th grade. She's saying I was the smart one. In their new journey, my parents were anxious, excited, nervous. They were coming to the United States of America, the greatest country in the world. My parents, like most immigrants, came looking for an opportunity and a better place to raise a family. My parents became Americans, and like other Americans, they began to hold expectations about their nation and those who lead it. They've passed these expectations down to me, my brothers and sisters, and fostered it with younger generations. These expectations include a belief that citizenship requires all of us to have an in-depth knowledge in the establishment of our country, its founding fathers, and the principles upon which we derive our individual liberty. A belief that our nation should be an example to others who seek to implement democracy and extend individual liberty to their citizens. A belief that our nation is exceptional and we take offense to those who do not. A belief that the United States is the shining city upon the hill where people from all around the world strive to live and emulate. We learned that citizenship in this nation comes with obligations, like abiding by laws, respecting people from all walks of life, being responsible and productive, and paying taxes. However, citizenship also comes with privileges, like voting, being able to practice any religion without fear of prosecution, and a strong national defense that keeps our children from being in harm's way. These beliefs, along with the unconditional love and support of my parents, our strong cultural ties to the Cape Verde Islands, as well as the value of family, service to others, has helped shape who I am today. My parents implored me to work hard and get a strong education. It was emphasized to my siblings and me that in America, you must earn your way through life, never expect a handout, but you can accomplish any dream through hard work and education. Even as a kid, and more so as I climbed my way up the ladder at AT&T and beyond, it became obvious that expectations were tied to performance. In the business world, we have expectations of our employer, and our employer has expectations of us. Like other Americans, we were always seeking to exceed expectations. And while life may not always have been easy, we still yearned for the American dream. We knew it was special, and we were willing to work and earn it. As a teenager, I entered the workforce. I worked 5 summers in a factory alongside my father, my brothers, and other extended family members. This is where I first learned the lessons of hard work and how one can benefit from it. I used the job in the factory along with one on the grounds crew at the University of Maine to help complement my student loans as I paid my way through school. I became the first college graduate in my family, and I was on my way to living the American dream. Later on, when AT&T sent me for my MBA at night, and then later for postgraduate work at Harvard's Business School, they expected me to use these new skills to help the company grow during competitive times. My performance was measured based on their merit system, and I was continuously promoted for surpassing difficult-to-reach objectives. As most of us know, in business, large or small, you are expected to meet and exceed goals in order to earn a raise or get promoted. If you fall short, there goes the raise and quite possibly your job. Unfortunately, our government is managed in the complete opposite way that we're expected to run our business and private lives. Think about that for a minute. If government were run like a business, most members of Congress would not be invited back for the first job interview. Because after all, when the government runs out of money and the management team fails to deliver against the expectations held by the taxpayer, the debt ceiling is simply raised and the burden of repairing a broken system is simply shifted on to the next generation. In business, we call that a failure. But that is where we find ourselves today. And that is why we must reassess our current management team in the federal government. Over the years, I've learned that our expectations are tied to our pride and our patriotism. I love being an American. But unfortunately, as a nation, we are falling short in these expectations. And quite frankly, it's disappointing. Here in Weston and in the 20th District, we're represented by Debbie Wasserman Schultz, career politician. Next November, it will be our constitutional duty to go to the polls and give her a loud and clear performance review. In the companies I ran, we did these reviews every year. And if today was the day for Debbie's review, it would go something like this. I will not ask Sue to play the role of Debbie. So I'll look this way. Miss Wasserman Schultz, please have a seat. You've been out with our company now since 2005. During that time, you've spent less time on your job than expected, and now you're only performing the responsibilities on a part-time basis. Debbie, we do not take kindly to moonlighting. It appears your second job as head of the Democratic Party is more important to you than your constitutional duty to represent the people of Florida's 20th District. Some of the most egregious errors in Washington have been made under your watch, and you apparently were a leader on them. You remember these: bailouts for executives, AIG executives, and banks. You pushed the passage of an $800 billion stimulus plan, which promised to bring unemployment down to less than 8%. Are you aware the country's unemployment is over 9%? And Florida's unemployment is nearly 11%. And in August, no new jobs were created. And then she has the nerve to go on national TV and call the plan a success. Her initiatives have failed to stimulate the economy that she herself said she owns. The economy is still weak, unemployment historically high, and home sales are still down. Is it true last month you said the economy is on the upswing? Exactly which economy are you referring to? And let's not forget, she was a champion in the passage of Obamacare. Do we really want to get into that fiasco? Our nation's debt has increased by more than $5 trillion since she's been in Congress, and in the past 3 years, It's grown by over $4 trillion. And she continues to defend President Obama on every one of his bad decisions, even when he attempts to force our friends in Israel to capitulate to known terrorists who seek to do them harm. Shame on you, Debbie. Shame on you. Clearly your customers, the taxpayers, have expectations that you can't seem to meet, and they want to go in a different direction. Your poor decision making and lack of tangible results are no longer acceptable to the voters of Florida's 20th District. We think you should consider a new line of work before we fire you in the next 14 months. And Debbie, please don't come asking for a reference. To help the residents of Florida's 20th District overcome our economic crisis and get back to work, I, Ozzie deFaria, proud father, husband, and American, hereby announce my candidacy for the United States House of Representatives. Thank you. Thanks. I can't believe I'm telling you to stop the applause, but throughout my career, I've had significant responsibilities, managed budgets in excess of $1.5 billion a year, held leadership roles such as Chief Operating Officer, President, and Chief Executive Officer for highly successful companies. Unlike Debbie, who is a lifelong government employee, I am a man who has built and turned around businesses, created over 2,000 jobs in the private sector, and added over $800 million to this nation's economy. I have earned my money by delivering results, not platitudes or failing to accomplish self-proclaimed goals. I am confident that I can provide a clear contrast to Debbie Wasserman Schultz and demonstrate to the voters that they deserve full-time and competent representation in Washington by someone who has a proven track record for creating real jobs, improving our nation's economy. We can and we must do better than a congresswoman who is so lockstep in her support of the Democratic Party that she won't disagree with the president on anything and is rated more radical than Nancy Pelosi. After all, she refuses to chastise Jimmy Hoffa for his foul language on Labor Day, but will rush to criticize Republicans and others for their statements. That's not leadership, that's partisanship. Friends, I have not lived a perfect life, but I have lived a principled life dedicated to my family's values, my children, and the notion that all Americans should have the same opportunities to achieve the American dream that I have without interference from government. In recent years, I've been hired to conduct turnaround management, thereby helping companies on the brink of collapse become profitable. I think that all of us in the room can agree there's one thing that Washington can use a bit of turning around right now. So today, I offer myself up to the taxpayers of Florida's 20th District as a man who can be part of the team in Washington to turn around our economy and deliver the results that you expect and that you deserve. Unlike Debbie Wasserman Schultz, I will not be just another party line vote or someone who is unwavering in their support of a failed president. I'm going to Washington to rein in out-of-control spending and explain why $2 trillion in annual revenue will not cover $3.5 trillion in expenses. It will certainly not pay down a $14 trillion national debt. I'm going to Washington to once again make America a country where our expectations will not be based on failure, but one where parents can tell their children they can live out their dream without fear or interference from a government who will burden them with high taxes, over-regulation, and a debt their children can't ever afford to pay down. I'm going to Washington to ensure that we have jobs and sustainability plans that include secure borders, a strong national defense, and independence from foreign sources of energy. I will cut the fat out of the federal government like I've done with companies and department heads who said there was no fat in their departments. But when I was done, the fat was gone and the companies were stronger. I'm going to Washington to maintain our obligations to veterans and seniors while finding common sense solutions for ensuring we can always fulfill them without hurting those that are dependent on these services that the government provides. I'm going to Washington to be part of the team that repeals Obamacare and forces our government to accept terms like interstate competition, tort reform, and fiscal discipline. The team that will demonstrate a genuine respect for your money, the taxpayer. I'm going to Washington to ensure the United States remains an unwavering supporter of Israel, who places its embassy in Jerusalem and will allow Israel to build on its own soil and defend itself from those who seek to do them harm, whether through defensible borders or negotiations with known terrorists. As I enter the political arena, I assure you, I will never make an empty promise and strive to represent all voters on these important matters, regardless of our political differences. I'm an independently minded American who just wants a better future for our children, and like all parents, I'm seeking peace of mind in hopes that our children can have a better life. I can't promise you that I'll change Washington by myself, but I'm sorry, Jared and Jennifer, Washington will never change me. And anyway, Sue and the kids have reminded me that I'm still doing the dishes after dinner. My mother likes my joke. And I live under no false illusions regarding the impact this campaign will have on me, my family, my life, and the grueling responsibility it bears. However, those of you that know me best know that I'm a proud and compassionate man who thrives on competition, and I refuse to permit a minor obstacle to stand in my path to success. I will work night and day to earn your respect and win the Republican Party's primary, and then defeat Debbie Wasserman Schultz next November. America has been a great country for me and my family, and I will work hard to ensure it remains that way for future generations. I know that with all of you, my friends and my family, we can succeed because the times and the threats facing our nation demand we succeed. I need you, all of you out there fighting alongside me, gathering petitions, donating, and voting for me. We cannot be dismayed by the political process or those who may seek to engage in the politics of political or personal destruction instead of focusing on creating jobs and turning the economy around. Will you all join me? Will you all join me? Please. I can't thank all of you enough for coming here and joining me tonight. And I thank you all so much for your support. I'm Ozzie deFaria. I'm a proud American, and I'm running for Congress. Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.